Hey guys, Happy New Year to you. Yeah, that is the latest Happy New Year message you could ever receive, right? So, my long awaited absence is over, which means we have a brand new video for you. And as promised, at long last, Calisthenic Movements Level 5 Mastery Program, the review of Phase 2 is about to go down. So, strap in, get comfy, sit back, and let's take a trip together. Okay, so the nuts and bolts of Phase 2. Just like Phase 1, it's another 4 times a week program, 4 separate workouts. The only difference this time is whereas in Phase 1, the sets peaked out at 4 sets per week, this time they peak out at 5 sets per week, but they both start at 3 sets per week. So yeah, you guessed it. We go from week 1, sets of 3, 4 sets, 5 sets, and that's your peak week. What was really nice about that is that took care of any progressive overload needs we may have needed. So I didn't have to think about adding reps. I didn't have to think about adding leverage or even adding weight. I could literally just do the same thing that I did the week before for an extra set every single week. And if you've ever tried volume increase over time, you'll realize how hard it actually is to ramp up and maintain a certain difficulty level. But it was a nice challenge. I thought that was a really neat feature of this phase. Now, in terms of movements, like I teased last time, we saw the arrival of the archer chin-up on rings. You could have done it on a bar, but I chose to do it on rings, so unilateral pulling. There was handstand push-up work against the wall, obviously building you towards the freestanding version eventually. The one-arm push-up and the one-arm ring row were a nice addition to this phase. And also the V-sit arrived on the scene. But one of my favourite things about this phase was the front to back lever rotation, so working the top half of the clock face. So unlike the 360 pull, aka skin the cat in the last phase, where you're going all the way around, in this phase it was a top half working backwards and forwards with pauses, which, as you guessed it, allows for longer leverage at the body. So that was a really nice thing to get into. So as you can see, a lot of this was juicy stuff in this phase. And yet another addition to this phase was, as I mentioned last time, the daily 15-minute handstand practice that took place at the beginning of every single workout. So you just set aside 15 minutes to practice your handstand. And what I really liked about being made to do this was the very fact that I was just that, made to do it. Because when I don't have it scheduled in, I do find that handstand training can fall by the wayside a little bit, particularly as it's been winter here in the UK where I'm based. It's just not as fun. Handstand training tends to really thrive in warm climates when you're outdoors, by the beaches, in the parks, with your friends, just dedicating a few hours, just enjoying being outside in a group and just not really having the most structure in the world, but just doing lots of different holds, lots of entries, lots of trials and just trying things. That is always nice to do. But when you've not got that time to do that, sometimes the handstand can take a back seat in comparison to the strength training. So it was nice to kind of have a handstand schedule back again. Hey guys, calm down, don't worry. It wasn't a stereotypical calisthenics leg 3 training program. I can hear you guys going, yeah, but what about the legs, guys? What about the legs? Legs were hit. So on 2 of the 4 days, there was a leg exercise to round out the day. Now, before we go further, let me just disclaim and say that I didn't run the program like that. I took the 2 separate leg exercises, put them into one, and molded them into a bigger overall leg day that I'm used to doing that includes mobility work, flexibility, things like that. So a leg day that I've been doing for the last 18 months or so, I know what works for me, and I also know that I find it hard to focus on training legs movements after upper body movements. You find you subconsciously can down-regulate the upper body output because your body knows that there's some leg exercises coming. It's just harder past a certain strength level, so it's something to keep in mind. Now, the 2 exercises that they featured, one was the iconic and infamous pistol squat, and the other one was a sissy lunge, which I substituted for assisted sissy squats because the sissy squat was a little bit tougher for me. And I did it in an assisted form. So I put my feet on some blocks sometimes, and I used a broomstick with my fingertips out in front of me to counterbalance me so that I wasn't limited by my stability. But rest assured, legs were trained in this program, and they were trained pretty damn hard at times. So don't worry there. So this is the bit you really came for this video for. What was good, what was bad, the likes versus the dislikes. So the first thing I liked about this, just a personal thing, was that it had the front to back lever work in it. Now I've always called the front to back lever work the man maker. The reason I say that is because it's just super intense. And if you do any volume on this exercise for any amount of sets, it can really give you an amazing training stimulus. The argument could be made that even if you are a minimalist and you're looking for just one exercise to take care of all your needs and give you the most gains possible, the front and back lever could well be that exercise that you're looking for. And I used to do a lot of this in my early training days, so it's just really nostalgic to get back to doing these again. And it was nice to see that there wasn't a huge amount of strength that had dropped off here, despite the problems I've had in the back end of 2020 with sort of bicep injuries and just general issues and under recovery. It makes you question whether you've still got the strength level, but I was able to do full back levers with the hands back and half lathe front levers as well. Considering I don't train the front and back lever that much anymore, I was quite pleased with that. And my body weight is 87 kilograms, which in pounds is around 190 something, I think, just as a reference point. Also, I actually quite like the one-arm push-ups in this program, and I found myself becoming a bit of a connoisseur of them. So I was like week by week kind of really not obsessing, but almost obsessing over the form. So trying to keep the shoulder down, trying to really square the shoulders, square the hips, minimize the straddle, and go all the way down to the floor with the elbow tracking down by the sides. Because obviously online you see lots of one-arm push-ups where you see just all kinds of things wrong with the form. You see super wide straddles, you see rotation at the torso, you see a massive elbow flare, and hardly any range of motion. So CaliMove, in fairness, in their videos demonstrate these exquisitely well, but you really don't see these demonstrated online all that well. So I found this as a nice personal challenge to try and really hammer home the form on the one-arm push-up. Another thing I liked, as I mentioned earlier, was the inclusion of the handstand practice, because that allowed me to actually train the handstand. And within the 15-minute times that I had, I was able to actually draw up a mini structure of things that I wanted to achieve. So rather than just kicking up and aimlessly trying to balance, I had a plan in place. Now, funnily enough, this actually leads us to the dislike section. And the handstand practice, in a way, was a dislike of mine as well. And simply because, and this isn't a criticism of calisthenic movement, this is more down to the fact that my level is a little bit higher than what they would normally expect coming into handstand training. So they've got the 15 minutes of daily handstand practice in there to try and get you a basic, consistent freestanding handstand. Now that approach works absolutely supreme for that. But because I'm at the level now where I can kind of, well, I could probably roll out of bed, 3 in the morning, walk down the hallway, find a 30-second handstand, hold it there, pretty straight. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get that. You can even hold me to that, guys, honestly. Hold me to it. So for my level, I need things like tuck. I need things like press drills. I need flagging. I need weight shifting. I need one-arm prep. Anything like that. Now, anyone who knows handstands knows that that is a time-consuming endeavor. That is going to take a lot of time. Hand balance is a bit of a time slut. It likes to take all of your time and doesn't actually give you that much in return. But if you're into it and you like it, that's for you to decide whether it's worth it or not. So what I would probably do different is I would have took the 4 15-minute chunks that are at the beginning of every workout, blended them into one big 1-hour session and done it that way. I think that would have been a much better approach for progress at my handstand standard. Now, another thing that I didn't like was the minimal leg exercises, as I alluded to earlier. For me, that was a little bit below my level. And both exercises that I were doing were quad dominant in nature. Now, I know for me, that's a good thing because I'm quite hamstring dominant historically. So a little bit of quad specialization would never go amiss for me. But if you were coming into this program and you were already quad dominant, you might find the hamstrings could lag a little bit. Now, the sissy lunge would be more hamstring than the sissy squat. And I know I changed that. And I guess in theory, you could do a loaded Bulgarian split squat. But it depends if you want to consider this a body weight only training program. I added weights to my pistol squats and I obviously did sissy squats. So I don't think adding a little bit of weight if you've got access to it is a bad idea. And I'm pretty sure CaliMove encouraged that as well. What I would have maybe liked as well, because there wasn't much variety, is if they would have done perhaps more exercises for less volume. So when it went up to 5 sets, instead of 5 sets of one exercise, it would have been nice to have done 3 sets on one exercise, 2 sets on a slightly different exercise, done twice over. So you've actually got 4 different exercises, but that's probably just my need for variety and wanting to kind of balance out all the different leg muscle patterns. If you were quite new to leg training and it was all sort of like, you know, a starting point for you, I don't think it would be too much of an issue, because bearing in mind you're only doing this for 3 to 4 weeks. So, looking ahead to the future, let's see what phase 3 has in store. Some movements stay, some movements go, and there are some new movements that arrive. The first thing that I see as I look ahead, and I'm sort of sad to do this, is that the one-arm push-up. The one-arm push-up goes for phase 3, but all isn't lost, because it comes back in phase 4. Spoiler alert, phase 4, one-arm push-ups are back, but they're not in phase 3. But it's fine, because there are other things in phase 3, such as the high-volume static holds, which is the drum roll, because the controversy drum beats. In the past, I've always said that high-volume static holds are not the greatest way of obtaining the straight arm lever exercises, such as the flag, back lever, front lever, planche, etc. But I'm open to try these things, and we shall see what this does for my lever game in 4 weeks' time. I'll update you. I'm more than happy to try things, and also what worked for you then may not work for you now, and vice versa. So you always have to keep this in mind when it comes to training, fitness, and exercise. Also, there is a little bit less handstand work scheduled in phase 3, so there are only 2 handstand days instead of 4. But as I said earlier, I'm not sure how I'm going to play this. I may just do separate stuff outside for handstands. I'm not going to exactly follow the calisthenic movement thing to a letter, just because I know it suits me better to do it a little bit different, as my needs are slightly different to the average person that's going to be running this program. Now, in 4 weeks' time, I'll be back with another video. It won't be so long, guys. So stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be uploading more videos to do with fitness, other content besides calisthenic movement stuff as well, just so that I'm not known for that and that only. So like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I loved seeing your comments last time on the old video, so the phase 1 review. It was really fun getting involved and chatting shop with a lot of you guys, so feel free to let it rip down below in the comments again. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.